like I can be Kevin or I can be, Petty Officer Gibson. Which one? You're just like, and then they're just like Petty Officer Gibson. I was like, are you sure? And they're just like, yeah. And I give them Petty Officer Gibson because Petty Officer Gibson's going to give it to you straight. Because if you don't stop what you're doing or whatever the situation is, you're going to hurt somebody, or you're going to harm somebody in their finances, or you're going to harm yourself with your finances and legalities, and you don't want that. Hi, this is Kevin Gibson, financial professional at Revolution Financial Management Wealth Financial Group. You don't want to miss my episode on Sound Leadership with DJ. We talk about collaborative leadership, organizational culture, and why most change efforts fail before they even begin. Make sure you like, share, and follow Sound Leadership with DJ on all platforms, and I'll see you there.
Ready to shatter the status quo and unleash your leadership potential? Sick of the same old tired leadership advice? Well, get ready to disrupt your thinking and transform your leadership skills. Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast that's about to challenge everything you thought you knew about leadership. Join DJ as he dives into the trenches with industry trailblazers, exploring the real issues leaders face today. From innovative strategies to proven techniques, we'll uncover the secrets to taking your leadership from good to great. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to conquer new heights. Join the movement, and let's redefine leadership together. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Leadership redefined.
Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast dedicated to exploring the essence of leadership. Here, we're all about connecting you with visionary thinkers and trailblazers who have reshaped the leadership landscape. Every episode is a new adventure where we walk side by side with leaders who have achieved remarkable success. Retrace their journey from humble beginnings to leadership prominence, uncovering the challenges they faced along the way, as well as discuss the wisdom they've collected. In this episode, it is no different. I am here with my fellow brother, who is also a nurse. I'm just going to slide that out there. Mr. Kevin Gibson. He is a financial professional with more than 16 years in leadership, shaped by his service in the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman and a master instructor, followed by his leadership roles in high-acuity environments, including ICU and perioperative settings. Big words, I know. Today, he is with Revolution Financial Management, where he helps families just like myself, entrepreneurs, build financial stability, scale businesses, and create long-term legacy through practical and disciplined systems. This conversation is about leadership when things are not calm. It's not your typical conversation on leadership. We're going to dive deep. We're going to talk about how to lead with consistency when life is chaotic, how to build trust under pressure, and why real leadership is about standards, not moves. Talk about it. Kevin will also walk us through his journey from military service to healthcare entrepreneurship and what it takes to reinvent yourself without losing who you are. If you care about leadership, discipline, and growth, well, you're in the right place. Sound Leadership with DJ. So join me as I talk candidly with CEOs, entrepreneurs, community influencers, and other leading figures as they share their stories, strategies, and pivotal moments that define their leadership journey. Whether you're refining your leadership skills or just starting to carve your path in leadership, Sound Leadership with DJ, promising enriching content tailored just for you. Now, I know what you're wondering. DJ, why are you still saying DJ first off your Dr. Kirk? I know. We'll get to it. I want you to stay engaged, and you're wondering how I do that. Well, it's simple. You follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube at Sound Leadership with DJ. When you're there, you stay in the loop by hitting that subscribe button, or simply search on your favorite platforms, including Apple Music, Alexa, Spotify, iHeart, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. Now, prepare to embark on a journey of inspiration, empowerment, and transformation. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Welcome, Kevin.
My man, first of all, what an intro. I appreciate that, man. I know we've been talking about this for a long time, man, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on, man. This is going to be a fun time.
Listen, you say what an intro. That I was reading. I was just spitting facts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes I forget that, there's a lot of things that we do in life, and we forget that we've done them. You're just like, man, life and time kind of just passes you by, and you're just like, wow, I really did, I really did all that stuff. So just kind of hearing, I was like, wow, I did all that, and yeah, that's where life has brought me now, man.
Hey man, and it's an intro that I put together, but it holds no candle to who you are. So I'm gonna give you some time. Tell the audience who is Kevin.
Who is Kevin? Well, first of all, I shout out to everybody that's out there listening. Well, first of all, Kevin is he's a child of God. And first and foremost, I keep God at the forefront of everything that I do, in my business, in my family, in my community, and so on and so forth. Secondly, Kevin is Kevin. We used to, or what I used to do is I used to just be able to identify with whatever my job was. And even when I was identifying with my job, I was always forgetting who I truly was. And so I also was, I was in the military for 16 and a half years. That's where I actually learned a lot of my leadership skills. And I was able to transfer that when I became an instructor and a nurse, to eventually becoming a nurse educator, and realizing to myself that I may have been in the service, I may have been an educator, and I may have been a nurse, but I'm always Kevin first. So I am Kevin, who also happens to have been a military service member, who was an educator, or who is an educator, who is also a nurse. So Kevin comes before all of those professions.
You know what? Identity is so important, and I think we can get wrapped up in titles and who we are. And you just talked about it, right? As leaders, sometimes we carry these fancy titles: CEO, COO, CNO, whatever it is you want to be, whatever Master Sergeant in the Army or Navy, whatever you carry these titles, and we can lose our identity. Now, as you mentioned, right? You did years in the service.
Mhm.
You're a business owner. How do you not lose your identity with these additional titles and roles that you've had?
You know, that's a great question. It's all about being grounded, and it's all about being around those people who you are striving to emulate, that can keep you grounded, because we're not supposed to do anything alone. Like, we're supposed to be in community, and your community is the one that, those are the individuals that'll tell you, hey, don't do that, hey, do this, because it allows for you to accept the feedback, and allows for you to be coachable in order for you to put that feedback into practice. So that's one of the biggest things that's kept me grounded, is my circle.
And your circle is definitely important. A circle is like your family, right? It's kind of like you mentioned, what keeps you grounded. How do you find a circle that's going to propel you to be your best? Because it's easy to be influenced.
You know, and I just let everybody know, it's just like, everybody will go through their own journey when it comes
Yeah.
to finding what really works for them. For me, I was influenced a lot about a lot of the things that happened on social media. They were just like, you can do it by yourself, but in reality, you can't. There's nobody
Right.
around here. Like, if you want to try to do or scale anything of crazy importance, you have to have a team. You have to have a team of people to do it. So, well, so one of the biggest things that I learned, you know, a little bit into my journey, was I can't do it by myself. And so I, stepped outside of my comfort zone, and I started reaching out to people, or I stepped outside my comfort zone and I went to networking events. There's a lot of things that, we all deal with internally, which could, social anxiety is a big one for a lot of people. So, but if you don't step outside your comfort zone and be comfortable being
Yeah.
uncomfortable, you won't be able to know what you're capable of and what other people are capable of to bring to you, to bring to your life, in order to help elevate you.
Now, I appreciate it because, like you said, it's all about stepping outside of your comfort zone. And you've had various roles in your career, right? I looked at your LinkedIn; it is amazing. And from talking to you, knowing you, your journeys,
Yeah.
it's amazing. How did that sense of community, that sense of brotherhood, help you when you was in the service? What was that like, and how did it shape your leadership career?
In the service, is they put you in a lot of scenarios where that are life and death, and it really helps you cherish life. I've lived a life of servitude, from being in the service, to continuing to be of service as a teacher. as well as the service and humility of being a nurse. But what the military really taught me is you look to your left and you look to your right. If we put you in a situation, who's going to go home? The person, the enemy, or is it going to be you? Or is it going to be the person to the left and to the right to you? And so that is, a lot of that's a part of the values that I live by, as in like, hey, we're all going together. And so even if you don't like me, and even if you don't like me, but we're still fighting on the same side, I need to know, like, we gonna make these things happen. And so, the military has really shaped the leadership because it's a sacrificial leadership, and it really is a team effort, because if you are an intricate part of the machine and you don't work, then the whole machine can fall apart.
Wow. I think that's interesting because you use the word team, and many leaders, I talk to, they have a they have a different version of team and what team definition is. So what does
Yeah.
team mean to you?
Oh man, that's a great question. Great question, but I mean, it's just very simple: is having those reliable people in your life that can pick you up when you're down, elevate you when it's time to be elevated, but then also you realizing that you're an intricate part of the team too, to elevate them when they need the help, right? And like nobody gets to this finish line by themselves. We all do it together in some way, shape, or form.
One of the signs that stick out to me from my childhood, ninth grade, Holy Redeemer, high school, sign, I remember it clear as day because I took it when I graduated. Anyway, I digressed. What's the statute of limitations?
Right.
I took the sign down off the wall, and it said, "Together, everyone achieves more," and it was team. Together, everyone achieves more, and that always stuck with me, right? Because together we will achieve more than if we're in our silo by ourselves. And
Absolutely.
I think as leaders, we have to remember that although we are leading, it is the people behind us or in front of us that are supporting us. And frankly, I like to say I lead from behind. I don't need to stand out in front and lead. I can sit from behind and let the team shine. But together we will achieve more. And I think that that's important, that as leaders, we must understand our position on the team. I think sometimes we think because we have the title, we're the ones in charge. And I've learned over time, just because I had a title, don't mean I'm the smartest one in the room.
Actually, it's crazy that you say that, is because the higher the title that you have should actually really tell you the less that you know and the more people that you need around you. I mean, we think about CEOs. They don't, even though they may have the last ultimate decision, they have administrators that work in different portions of the hospital that
Yes.
give them counsel. Just like the president, he has a cabinet. He may have the final decision, but he consults his cabinet based off of what's going on, whatever part of the world, and what strategic moves that they should make. And then he's just like, okay, let's do that. So while rising to the level of CEO, you don't get there by yourself, and you definitely don't maintain that by yourself either. It's definitely a team effort in order for that, as you elevate up that position. Or any position.
And as you say, right, this CEO, he has advisors who help shape them. And in theory, they should be listening to the advisors. They may have that final say. But what I find, or what I've seen as I've coached leaders, as I coach executives, is oftentimes people get the title, but don't know what it means to hold that title. They don't know what it means to be a leader. So for you, what makes a good leader? What do you look for in a leader?
What I look for in a good leader is unselfishness. Is because you are already there. Your goal is to empower the people that are under you to get to where you are. Because the more people that you can bring up, they will elevate you. Right. So it's kind of like how you're at the top of the mountain. If I'm at the top of the mountain, my goal is to put my hand down and to pull you up. Not to pull you all the way up, but to say, hey, I'm here to help you. Like, here's my helping hand, right? Versus how some people that are below them, they'll try to pull you down. But you got to realize who's part of your team and who you want to bring up with you, right? So what I really truly look for in a leader is that willingness to want to help others, like that servant leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. You use the term servant leadership. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to come back to this because I had another question ready for you at the top of my head. And that was, what attracted you to your leadership roles in the Navy and then later in healthcare? What kind of drove you to step into leadership?
Well, in in the military, in order for you to get the things that you want, they tell you, hey, if you want to be able to go to these specific duty stations, if you want to be able to hold these specific titles, you have to be able to, you have to be able to make your way up the ladder, up the chain. And as you start to grow through the chain of command and as you start to make rank, you learn these different leadership styles. Right. And as you start to learn these different leadership styles, you adopt which one would be best for you. But then it's all based off of situational. So, authoritative or democracy, depending, situation will dictate. And so, in the military, it was very, go, go, go. It was very straight to the point. It was very knife hand in the face. But then sometimes it was like, hey, come hither. Let us have a conversation and let us show you, what you're doing wrong and then how we can strategically get you to a different point. And I took that, learned a lot of that, and then they put you in positions that you may not be ready for based off of your rank. So it's either you're going to get it done or you're going to get it done. So it's just like, you're going to get it done or get it done. You only got two choices. You're like, well, do I get a third? No. Third is repeat step 1 and 2. Right. So, I take my growth within just adulthood and leadership. I owe that all to the military, all of it.
Wow. And so you've taken that in the military. Is that when you became a nurse? It was in the military, correct? Your house.
It was, yeah. Funny story about that is I actually became a nurse while I was still active duty in the military. Like I did it all on my own. Like I was going to classes or clinicals on the weekends. I was doing online classes when I had the free time, and I didn't do it through a program, all while I had a full-time job. And by the way, my full-time job was I was a surgical tech instructor, so I was teaching while I was in school. So so I became a registered nurse while I was on active duty in the Navy. Yeah.
And so I'm sure that was different, once you left the service and kind of went to civilian life, you jumped into, regiments you were teaching, then you became a registered nurse. As a registered nurse, let's call a spade, as a black male nurse, us less than 12%, if that, at that level, right? I don't remember what the statistic is, but very low. How did you use some of your leadership principles to navigate some of the, let's just call it a spade, the politics that is being a black male nurse in a leadership space?
Man, like, where do I even begin? I got so many stories. No, I really do have so many stories. But what I learned in the service, with leadership and then coming into the politics of the civilian life, especially in a hospital where it's majority, where in a profession where it's 90% women, and in a workplace that I was not familiar with. My leadership in the military showed me to stay out the way. It really truly showed me to stay out the way, is because the culture that I came from had a lot more structure versus how when you try to instill the structure that you have from the service into the civilian sector, people are not, they're not for it. They don't want it. They don't like being talked to that way. They just, it's just, it was a lot of lack of discipline that happened in the civilian sector, that I was not aware of, as well as, certain people treated, veterans when they came out. Like it's a very different world, being in the military, any branch, and then coming into the civilian sector to work. I can only speak as working as a nurse. I don't know about other professions, but yeah.
Hey, did you hit that like button yet? That subscribe button yet? Well, if you didn't hit it, that's how I get views. I need the views. Sound Leadership with DJ invites you to like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of every single episode that we host here on Sound Leadership with DJ. Have you done it yet? All right, now back to this
these
episode.
new environments as a leader, as a nurse, as somebody who, like you said, who's coming from the service.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that you can do for anybody is, when you want to try to build trust, is to be actively involved on what's going on. Everybody has a part to play. Everything from committees to leadership that's happening within the unit to, the leadership opportunities that you can get, throughout the hospital, like, the ethics committee and, wound care, whatever that may be. You just dive right in. Unfortunately, your situation, may differ depending on what institution or what facility that you go to, because not all facilities are built the same. And you also got to think about, timing as well. I was a nurse during the first and second wave of COVID, and that was a different beast in its own, from lack of staffing, from a lot of unsafe patient nurse ratios to a lot of unethical things that were happening, in the hospitals and stuff like that. And it got to the point to where, a lot of people left, and because they couldn't do it, because they were burnt out and very much unappreciated, not paid enough. People were getting sick. People were passing away, so, a lot of people took it upon themselves. Like, I'll find something different. And that's what they did.
And frankly, I think that's how we met. We met through a mutual colleague. Shout out to Maggie. Maggie. Because you were doing something different, right? You kind of stepped out, ventured out, doing your own thing. Is the COVID what led you to it? Is it the lack of leadership systems and support that led you to it? What led you to step out and be an entrepreneur?
Funny enough, and I'll take this back, is like the military breeds, in my opinion, the best entrepreneurs, because they put you in situations that in any other place in the civilian world, you would have had to have like a degree for. Like, I was, a lower ranked individual while I was in the service, but in charge of a $5 million budget. Who does that? Who does that? Right. But you learn a lot about different systems and different policies while you're in the service in order to transfer those things out. And so I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what it was. And when I realized that I was a great teacher, being able to steward somebody from where they were of a sense of difficulty to be able to get them over that hump, I was just like, teaching is where I want to be. And so I said, you know what, let me start coaching people, how to pass their licensing exam. And then I taught one, pass, another, they passed. Next thing you know, I'm at, 50, then 100. And then it escalated all the way up to, helping over 5,000 people, nursing students pass their licensing exam.
Shout out to you for educating and assisting the next generation away, ushering the next generation of nurses, because first off, being a nurse is hard. Passing that NCLEX is a challenge, right? Yeah. You can't chat GTP through that NCLEX. It just don't work. You might be able to get through a care plan, but you ain't gonna get through the NCLEX with chat GTP.
Yeah, and you believe it. There's a lot of those students out there that try to do it. So if there's any nurses on here that are trying to do it, don't do it. Don't do it.
It's not it. So, we talk about your journey through, the service. We talk about your journey to becoming a registered nurse and how you, wanted more and you became an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you are in charge of the ship. It sinks or swims. It sinks or floats, right? What is it? Yeah. Sinks or swim, right? And so that's very interesting because it's a struggle. It's a grind. People don't understand it. You're managing so much. Like you said, you were managing $5 million, but that was somebody else's dollars. It wasn't.
And I also didn't do it by myself. I had a team.
Some leaders struggle with consistency. So, what systems help leaders stay consistent when motivation fades?
So, first system is the community of people that you're around, the leaders that you do have. And if you don't have them, seek them out. If you don't have them, seek them out. And what happens is, many leaders, they'll start to struggle with the consistency is because they're doing too much. Like they're trying to be they're trying to be the videographer, they're trying to be the editor, they're trying to be the marketer, they're trying to be the legal consultant, they're trying to be.
Hold on. I think some guy named Suge Knight got on the stage and shouted that out about somebody all up in the video.
Listen.
All of it.
You know what? we are not going. We ain't going there. That's funny though, because that's exactly what Suge Knight said. He said that, right? It's just like you want to do everything. That's like the epitome of micromanaging. Micromanaging is that you're overflowing that cup. Imagine as a micromanager, you're pouring all this water onto a plant. You don't give it enough time to breathe, so it's not going to grow. But if you water it intently, watch that turn out to be a tree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when those leaders when they start to struggle with that consistency, that's why it's, you find those people that are where you want to achieve, and you lean on them in order to help you kind of pull yourself out of that struggle, because you're at a point of stagnation and you don't know why, and you need somebody that's outside of you to tell you why you're stagnant.
A couple of years ago during COVID, I did a 360 assessment. People thought I was crazy. I wanted to see how people felt about me. It didn't hurt my feelings at all because I already knew how they felt, but I wanted to see it in black and white. Speak with the chest out. So I did a 360 assessment because I really wanted to self-reflect. Leaders, I feel, don't self-reflect, right? If you don't agree with a leader, you're no longer a part of that team. And I don't think that's how we should be operating in a dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that as leaders, we have to self-reflect. Now, I use that to better my leadership style. I've learned over time to vary my leadership style. So you used the term servant leadership earlier. I like to say I am a situational leader. Based on the needs and the time of that individual, I will tailor my leadership strategy and style. Because Kevin, you may be my rock star in an upper right quadrant. You may be the best performing person, and then your dog dies tomorrow. And now you need me to console you. You need me to coach you. You need me to guide you. Where usually you work independent and I don't see you for weeks at a time. I don't need to see you because you're just there, right? And so what I felt like is when we identify with one theory, and I remember the buzzwords, I was a transformational leader for the longest. And then servant leadership was a buzzword in 2020. And I was like, I'm a servant leader. And then I started reading up on leadership myself. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm situational. I'm going to inspire you when it's time to inspire you. I'm going to coach and guide you when it's time to coach and guide you. I'm going to tell you what we need to do when it's time to tell you what we need to do. And I'm gonna address you based on that point in time. Once again, you may be fabulous today and your dog dies tomorrow, and it's like, so and so, you're not doing what you need to do. So I think it's important for leaders to adjust their leadership strategy and their leadership style. I think it's important for leaders not to be stagnant. I think it's important for leaders to self-reflect on their leadership journey. So how have you self-reflected on your leadership journey and your leadership style?
I do a self-reflection all the time. Like I even did a self-reflection within the last couple of days to, I run those scenarios based off of what's being presented to me, like in the financial sector, there's only certain things depending on what license that you have that you can talk about. So you have to be very authoritative when you talk to people about specific things, or you have to be authoritative to make sure people stay within their lane, because legally you don't want them to venture out their lane to where they can get in trouble. Or it's definitely a situational leadership, because sometimes I used to ask people, even some of my nursing students, I was just like, hey, so number one, are you asking for my feedback? And there's like, yes. And I was just like, okay, so we can do this multiple ways. I was like, do you want me to coddle you, or do you want me to be straightforward and authoritative with you? Because I was like, I can be Kevin, or I can be, Petty Officer Gibson. Which one you want? And then they're just like Petty Officer Gibson. I was like, are you sure? And they're just like, yeah. And I give them Petty Officer Gibson because Petty Officer Gibson's going to give it to you straight. because if you don't stop what you're doing or whatever the situation is, you're either going to hurt somebody or you're gonna harm somebody in their finances, or you're going to harm yourself with your finances and legalities, and we don't want that. So I would agree with it definitely being situational for something that I have evolved into doing, because how I would talk to you would be different than how I would talk to a brand new business partner who's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and wants to learn how they can continue the mission of helping families and to help themselves, right? So I would definitely say the reflection is the upgrade to situational leadership.
Perfect. And we're getting ready to draw this to a close, but I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Fire away.
If leadership had a warning label, what would it say?
It would say your experience may differ.
I agree. What's the most unrealistic leadership advice somebody has given to you?
You don't need anybody. Do it all by yourself.
Facts. I've heard that one. I've heard it. It's been horrible. And right. And like you said, as an entrepreneur, sometimes that's what you're doing, right? You're trying to, move mountains when you're by yourself, right? I'm a bootstrap founder. I am by myself. I don't want to be by myself, but I'm a bootstrap founder by myself, and it's not what I want to do, and it's not what I want to be. So I lean on people like you who help coach and help guide. And, I appreciate people like you because I don't have to do it myself, but I need to find people like you. And I think that's where you've kind of transitioned your role from being an entrepreneur over to being a financial professional, because you saw the need to provide education and training to entrepreneurs, nurses, everybody in that sector. So talk to me about your new role that you have and what you're doing, life after the service, life after your entrepreneurship, when you were, doing, you still may be doing, but, educating the next generation of nurses.
Yeah. So, I did become a licensed financial professional. With of course my wonderful team over at Revolution Financial Management. And what really sets them apart is we are all about leadership development for all entrepreneurs and all business owners, but it's based off of wealth principles. And we do that. We do that with a mixture of biblical principles as well, as because, we say things, a father leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Like, we really try to remain, as faith-based as we possibly can, because we believe in faith, family, finance. And so, as I transition out of the service and from teaching and from nursing, all of those were a foundation. All of those were a foundation to the leader that I am right now, to where I said it was servant. There was an active service by being part of the military, because I volunteered when I raised my right hand. I volunteered to be a teacher because I wanted to put a different and a better quality of product, meaning the people that we were sending out there to take care of my fellow brothers and sisters in arms. I became a nurse because I wanted to be able to take care of people at a more advanced level, but experience that humility. And then when I became an entrepreneur, but then specifically when I got into the financial side, it was about stewardship. All things that God has called me to do. And this is what I said, this is the will that I know the Father has for me. And so as I came into this portion, I realized that money is attached to all of it. But now the question is, how do I get people to be able to understand this on such a basic level that they can make a positive, informed decision for themselves?
And I think it's important for people to make positive decisions. Everybody has a different relationship with money, right? Depending on how you grew up. I was listening to something on YouTube today, because that's my audio book. And they said, generally speaking, you have your financial principles and things by the age of 7 to 9. That's usually when you start to intersect with money between the ages of 7 and 9. Now, obviously, you're still going to learn and you're going to grow. But I think about my daughter. My daughter's 8, and we would go to the store. This just happened the other day. And she said, "Dad, do you really need that? Like, you have 3 of them that you're not using currently." I was like, "I really want it." And she said, "But you said it's a want, not a need." And I was like, "This little girl clocking my coins."
Mm-hmm.
Talking my coins. So
How important is financial literacy in today's leadership environment? How important is that?
The literacy in general is, once again, that's part of the foundation. If you don't know what things mean, how can you make a good decision? Like, if you don't know what a word means, how are you going to talk about it, or how can you make a decision? Like, if you don't understand, what a rate of return means, or if you don't understand what the rule of 72 means, by the way, they don't teach these in school. How do you know that your money is going to do what you want it to do? Right. And so literacy is important because it allows for you to understand the meaning of what you are learning. And when you understand the meaning of what you are learning, now you can take an actionable step of doing what it says or not doing what it says. But you can't be upset because now the information is now provided to you. Now you have to make a choice. Do you want to further your education and literacy of understanding how money truly works? Or do you want to take this information and just put it in your pocket and then, ride off into the sunset? Either way, in order for you to do better, you have to learn it.
And learning is what you did, right? You started off in the Navy, became a registered nurse. Now you're a financial professional. You sound like me, a career student. You sound like you're a steward of learning.
Yes, 100%.
And that's what this podcast is all about. It's about learning. It's about teaching you the principles to be a more effective leader, to be a better leader. And today you heard from Kevin Gibson, a financial professional who shared his journey through leadership. He shared what it's like to be a leader in chaos, right? And navigating new leaders, as he talked about, do you want Kevin or you want First Officer Petty? What do you want, right? He shared that, right? So, Kevin, as we draw this to a close, how can people reach you? How can people connect with you?
So, people can reach me. You can reach me on, I have a YouTube channel. It's Kevin Gibson, the financial professional. You can reach me on LinkedIn. It's Kevin Gibson. You'll see me with my nice little suit and tie. You can find me on Instagram, at Kevin_Gibson_2. You can also find me on TikTok as Kevin, the financial educator. So, so I'm all across all those social media platforms, and you can, I have a link tree that'll be able to take you to all those places as well that are on all of my platforms, as well.
And we'll list those in the show notes, and anywhere that you can find this podcast, we will list it in the show notes. Kevin, I appreciate you taking time out your day to talk to me, my brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you hosting me. I already knew this was going to be a great time, and I thank you for not just your friendship, but then also your leadership and your guidance, because it's helped me tremendously, and I know it's going to continue to help others out there. So I appreciate you, brother.
My brother, kind words, nurse to nurse, man. I got another nurse on the podcast. I'm excited, So Kevin, I thank you. And I thank all the listeners for staying on course and staying with Sound Leadership with DJ. Thank you for embarking on this leadership journey with me here at Sound Leadership with DJ. Today's episode was filled with great insights from Kevin. If you felt today that this episode moved you, inspired you, or left you simply wanting more, I invite you to connect with us and explore the world of Sound Leadership and DJ by following us on all your platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, iHeart, anywhere. Alexa, simply search Sound Leadership with DJ and hit that subscribe button, and ensure you're always in the forefront of our episodes, because we are here to inspire and transform. As we part ways today, remember, leadership is a journey, not a destination. Keep striving to learn and grow, and never give up on your goals. We're honored to be a part of your leadership journey and anticipate welcoming you here back soon for much more. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and remember, within Sound Leadership with DJ, you're always in good company.
Thanks for tuning into Sound Leadership with DJ. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Share your favorite takeaways with a friend or colleague. Leave a review and let us know what you think. And remember, leadership is not just a title, it's a choice. Choose to lead with purpose, passion, and impact. See you on the next episode.